It's just suicide.
Well, that's kind of our thing.
My father believed if the world found out who I really was, they'd reject me.
Here's the deal. We fail the mission, you die.
If we find out any information you give us is false, you die.
If we find out you have personalized license plates, you die.
Please subscribe to our channel. What's the best DCEU movie? Some 15 movies in, the franchise initially built on Zack Snyder's vision has suffered several identity crises over its 10-year run. There's been controversies, missed opportunities, and as many high-profile exits and fallouts as there have been perfect castings. But how does every DCEU movie rank? Here's a run-through of every film in this franchise so far, ranked from worst to best. Every movie will be critically assessed, with strengths and weaknesses carefully examined to justify its placement, including 2023's Aquaman and The Last Kingdom. Number 16. Justice League. When Warner Bros. First announced Justice League, they intended it to be the triumphant culmination of everything the DCU had been working towards since 2013. Unfortunately, it all went badly wrong. Director Zack Snyder left partway through production, with Joss Whedon taking over and conducting a massive amount of additional photography. The result is a Frankenstein's monster of a film that's true to neither Snyder nor Whedon, and fails to complete the plotlines seeded in previous movies. Number 15. Suicide Squad. Before Justice League, Suicide Squad was another DCU film fundamentally altered once production had wrapped. In early 2016, Warner Bros. Grew concerned the tone of David Ayer's film didn't match with the inspired marketing campaign, with the disappointing box office performance of Batman v Superman reportedly leading them to change strategy. In the end, the final theatrical cut was essentially two different versions, one from the director, one a trailer house stitched together during post-production and feeling more than a little unfinished. Number 14. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. The second film in Zack Snyder's loose trilogy of DC movies, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice marks the point at which the DCU truly became divisive. Batman v Superman was scorned by critics, but is viewed as a cult classic by fans of Snyder's cinematographic style. The difference in opinions is best exemplified by the film's scores on review aggregate site Rotten Tomatoes. It has a critic score of just 28% against an audience score of 63%. Number 13. Shazam! Fury of the Gods. After the wholesome, feel-good DCU antidote offered by Zachary Levi's Shazam, the childlike superhero grates a little too much in the sequel. Let down by a poor marketing campaign, Shazam! Fury of the Gods never quite justifies why it deserved a better one, with Levi's character losing a lot of his shine in the service of meta jokes and not very funny ones at that. How the mighty had fallen. Number 12. Wonder Woman 1984. Expectations were high for Wonder Woman 1984, which had the misfortune of releasing at the height of the coronavirus pandemic. Unfortunately, the film is rather disappointing. Largely because of a muddled plot and some very strange creative decisions, notably a bizarre body-swapping decision so uncomfortable it was excised from the junior novelization. Gal Gadot and Chris Pine are excellent, and the chemistry between them comes close to justifying the decision to bring back Wonder Woman's lost love Steve Trevor. Number 11. Black Adam. Despite a marketing campaign that saw Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson so heavily lean on Superman that the Man of Steel might have felt compelled to buckle, Black Adam ended up not quite being a sum of its parts. The introduction of the Justice Society, and spot-on casting that included Johnson himself, but mostly nailed all of the heroes was absolutely the high point, but generally, Black Adam was not the earth-shaking DCU revolution its hulking lead actor promised. Number 10. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Another frustratingly underwhelming marketing campaign preceded the release of the final DCU movie, James Wan's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. despite initially tepid critical reviews and disappointing box office performance. The belated sequel to 2018's colorful romp hits most of the greatest hits of the original. Jason Momoa's anarchic king of Atlantis is zanier, and dials up the dude bro energy, channeling it into some of the worst parenting ever captured on film, in fact, and there's a commitment to imaginative spectacle that is really impressive. Number 9. The Flash. For all the complaints about The Flash's CGI problems, and the nostalgia bait of the DC superhero cameos in its multiverse, Andy Muschietti's spaghetti soup of a Flashpoint adaptation still ticks a lot of boxes. Brave in vision and compelling in story, The Flash was always a difficult prospect thanks to behind-the-scenes turmoil, delays, and the unfortunate truth of James Gunn's impending DCU reboot. Number 8. Zack Snyder's Justice League. The Snyder Cut of Justice League was finally released on HBO Max, and while it may not officially be part of the DCU, its tangential status means it really deserves a place on this list. The Snyder Cut is infinitely better than the theatrical release of Justice League, but still somewhat stands as testimony to the fact that sometimes studio editing is a good thing. The first third in particular is meandering, and you definitely get the sense a good hour or so could be cut from this 4-hour-long epic without any real loss. Number 7. Birds of Prey. Kathy Yan's Birds of Prey is really a Harley Quinn movie with various badass female characters as backup. And it's exactly what you'd expect from a Harley Quinn film, a madcap roller coaster ride through Gotham City. As Harley struggles to escape the Joker's shadow while saving a teenage pickpocket who's unwittingly become Gotham's most wanted. Birds of Prey isn't exactly deep aside from Harley herself. The Birds of Prey often feel reduced to popular tropes, and the film doesn't exactly help matters by having Harley lampshade that fact. Number 6. Shazam. In terms of sheer, unadulterated fun, David F. Sandberg's Shazam is almost unbeaten. Starring Asher Angel as Billy Batson and Zachary Levi as the adult superhero he transforms into, Shazam is a wild and irreverent ride. The marketing had focused on the humor, and almost all the jokes land perfectly, but tonally, Shazam blends light and dark with effortless ease. The emotional core of the film is the relationship between Billy and his foster brother Freddie, Jack Dylan Krazer, which shines a light on Billy's self-centered character and ultimately forces him to wake up to the fact he has all the family he needs. Number 5. Blue Beetle. It's fair to say Ángel Manuel Soto's Blue Beetle had a mountain to climb before its release. Initially intended for release on HBO's Max only. The first solo outing for Xolo Maridueña's Jamie Reyes, aka Blue Beetle, was elevated to a theatrical release, but was forced to then contend with the strikes that made marketing a huge challenge and the ominous shadow cast by The Flash's box office disaster. But Blue Beetle is the little beetle that could, and its positive score for representation absolutely should be a point of pride for all involved. Blue Beetle works as a DCU movie and a DCU movie, dropping only meager nods to both Superman and Batman, and requiring basically no homework, even from the original DC comics. Number 4. Aquaman. Starring Jason Momoa as the titular hero, Aquaman is one of DC's strongest films to date. It's not a perfect movie, there are problems with the CGI, and the glorified treasure hunt plot doesn't quite work, but Aquaman is buoyed by director James Wan's lavish world building as he explores DC's version of Atlantis. Momoa is perfectly cast, and there's tremendous chemistry between him and his co-star, Amber Heard. Number 3. Wonder Woman. Undeniably the most influential film in the DCU to date. Wonder Woman broke the glass ceiling for female superheroes. Patty Jenkins' movie was lovingly crafted, and proved a female-led superhero flick could be a success. It grossed over $800 million worldwide. Jenkins and star Gal Gadot undoubtedly made a perfect team, with Wonder Woman presented as a complex, layered individual who was battling to bring an end to all war. The standout scene is one in which Wonder Woman steps into no man's land, drawing enemy fire and giving the Allies a chance to push forwards. Number 2. Man of Steel. Zack Snyder's Man of Steel reimagined Superman as a 21st century superhero who is equally feared and distrusted by the world at large. Taking the baton from Christopher Nolan's work in the Dark Knight trilogy, the auteur director creates a beautiful and dramatic retelling of Kal-El's origin story, spending more time exploring the planet of Krypton than any previous Superman adaptation. Cavill's grim portrayal contrasts markedly with Christopher Reeve's, but fits the aesthetic and tone of the nascent DCEU. Number 1. The Suicide Squad. What cannot be overstated is how different James Gunn's bloody, high-octane not-quite sequel is to the rest of its DC movie siblings. In a franchise that otherwise leonizes the icons of heroism, the Suicide Squad positively wallows in the gutter with the losers. As Gunn proved in the MCU with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, he has an incredible knack for making his audience care about the lowliest characters, a point reiterated rather pointedly in the Suicide Squad's most heartfelt moment. And if heart is your barometer, there's masses for a blockbuster that centers on a giant starfish fighting a bunch of D-level DC Comics villains. So that's every DCU movie ranked from worst to best. I hope you like this video. Please leave a comment and subscribe to this channel. See you in another video. Bye.